Welcome to the 12-Minute Leadership Podcast, where in 12 minutes or less, I'll share small things that you can put into immediate practice that will make a big difference in your leadership effectiveness. I'm your host, Elise Morales, leadership professor, consultant, and coach. For the last 17 years, I have helped thousands of leaders level up their influence and achieve remarkable results. If you want to trade compliance for true commitment and create your dream team, you are in the right place. Get ready for a quick hit of practical wisdom to increase your team's engagement, inspire top performance, and retain your best talent. Ready to level up your influence and get better results? 12 minutes starts now. Hi everyone, Elise here. Welcome back to the podcast. Over the last few episodes, we've been talking about executive retreats, what they are, how they differ from strategic offsites, and why high-performing teams invest in them. Today, I want to answer a very practical question. What actually happens inside an executive retreat? For many leaders, the idea still feels a little vague. They may picture themselves doing presentations, team building activities, maybe a nicer venue and a few conversations outside the office. But a well-designed executive retreat is much more intentional than that. Done well, it becomes one of the most strategic investments a leadership team can make because it creates space for conversations, alignment, and leadership work that often doesn't happen in the space of everyday operations. Before talking about what happens in a retreat, I think it's important to start with the why. The purpose of an executive retreat is not simply to get leaders together. It is to create focused, intentional space for a leadership team to step back from operating the business and examine how they are leading the business together. That's different work because most executive teams spend the majority of their time inside the work. Retreats allow teams to step above the work long enough to evaluate how effectively are we operating as a team? Where are we aligned? Where are we not? What conversations are we avoiding? What patterns are helping us? What patterns are hurting us? That level of reflection is difficult to achieve in a 1-hour meeting between back-to-back calendar appointments. So let's talk about what actually happens inside a retreat. Every retreat is different depending on the organization, the goals, and the team dynamics. But most effective retreats tend to include several key components. One of those is honest assessment of the team. One of the first things that often happens is creating space for honest reflection. Not surface level conversation, real conversation. What's working well as a leadership team? What's causing friction? Where are communication breakdowns happening? Where is trust strong and where does it need strengthening? Sometimes leaders realize in these types of focused conversations that certain dysfunctions have become normalized. It's easy to become so operationally focused that we often haven't stepped back to evaluate how things are functioning together. That awareness alone is incredibly valuable. A second element of executive retreats is focusing on conversations teams usually avoid. This is a big one. Many retreats create space for conversations that leaders know need to happen, but haven't happened. Sometimes it's tension between departments, sometimes it's frustration around decision-making, sometimes it's unclear expectations, accountability, or communication patterns. And often, those issues are quietly affecting execution every single day. But because everyone is moving so fast, they remain unresolved. Retreats create the structure and psychological safety to address those conversations productively, not destructively. That distinction matters. In fact, I just spoke with the CEO of a company this morning who made this realization. He said they have been in performance and execution mode for over 30 years and realized time has never been taken out to evaluate this side of how things are functioning. He realized the internal functioning of the team is now holding back the business from scaling. A third element of retreats is alignment around leadership expectations. How do we want to lead together? How do we handle conflict? What does accountability look like on this team? How do we make decisions? What behaviors strengthen trust here and what undermines it? Many executive teams assume alignment when in reality, everyone may be operating from slightly different assumptions. Over time, small misalignments become major frustrations. A fourth element is strategic reflection. Retreats also create something leaders rarely have enough of: thinking space, not reacting, not responding to emails, not solving the next urgent issue, actually thinking, reflecting on where the organization is headed, what challenges are emerging, what's changing in the business or industry, what the team may need to prepare for next. This kind of strategic reflection is often difficult to achieve in the normal rhythm of work, but it is critical for strong leadership. A fifth element of retreats is building stronger relationships. One thing that is often underestimated in leadership teams is the impact of relationships. Trust affects communication, communication affects decisions, decisions affect execution. Strong retreats intentionally strengthen relational trust, not in a forced or artificial way, but by creating meaningful dialogue, deeper understanding, and a stronger connection between leaders. Leadership teams function differently when trust is strong. And a final element of executive retreats is shared commitments moving forward. The best retreats don't end with inspiration alone. They end with clarity, clear commitments, clear expectations, clear next steps. What are we taking forward from this conversation? What needs to change? What behaviors do we want to reinforce as a team? What conversations still need to happen? Retreat work only creates value if it translates back into day-to-day leadership. And I want to clarify something important here. A strong retreat isn't about forcing vulnerability or kumbaya moments. It's not about creating emotional experiences for the sake of emotion. It's not about fixing people. It's all about strengthening the leadership team's ability to operate effectively together. That's the goal. So what makes an executive retreat truly effective? Not just a good agenda, not just a beautiful location. What makes it effective is intentionality, the willingness to have real conversations, the ability to slow down long enough to examine what's actually happening beneath the surface, the commitment to strengthening not just the strategy, but the leadership system driving that strategy. So here's a question for you. If your leadership team stepped away for a retreat tomorrow, what conversation would most need to happen? That answer may tell you exactly where attention is needed. So in closing, executive retreats are not about escaping the work. Done well, they are some of the most important leadership work a team can do. Healthy leadership teams do not happen accidentally. Alignment takes intention. Trust takes intention. Strong communication takes intention. Creating space for those things may be one of the wisest investments a leadership team can make. So, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Share it with another leader who needs it. And if you need support in customizing, planning, and facilitating your next executive retreat, my team of experts can do the heavy lifting for you. Simply go to my website, www.eliseboggs.com/contact to get in touch with us. I'll see you next time.
Like what you heard on today's episode and want to go deeper? Subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also pick up my book, Lead Anyone, on Amazon. Then, go to my website to check out ways that we can support your leadership goals. From executive retreats to customized training and coaching, my team of experts will help you level up your leadership and accelerate your results. Go to www.eliseboggs.com for more info.